White Line Promotions, episode 8 with Ben.
What's up, guys? Amy, thank you for having me.
For sure.
Happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So, first of all, do you want to introduce yourself to those people who don't know you?
Yeah, sure. My name is Ben Kunzle. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I've been training since I was 11 years old and 25 years old now. Retired athlete, but still living a good life.
For sure, for sure. So, Ben, today you posted online, which was a really good quote, which I kind of wanted to touch base on it, which was, again, what was the quote again?
Attitude. You can't beat someone with a good attitude.
You can't beat somebody with a good attitude. So I've known Ben since he was 13?
No,
14?
I think I met you when I was 16.
16?
Yeah.
Damn, has it been 16? Are you 24 now?
I'm 25. Maybe 17. Either 16 or 17.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Damn, time flies.
It does.
Yeah. So Adekola was younger than you?
Yeah, Adekola's a year or two younger.
Oh, okay, because I always thought you guys were together. So we had a mutual friend. It was
Spaghetti. Shout out Spaghetti.
Shout out to Spaghetti. And I would go see him at Fight Sports, just like drill. And then I met Ben there. And I was always like, damn, this guy's a killer. Always.
Yeah.
He was so amazing.
I mean, jiu-jitsu, it was my passion, you know?
Yeah.
It's the favorite thing to do. I started training when I was 11 because I would fight with my brother a lot. And he had a friend that actually, like, they would come over after school, and his friend was like a skinny little kid, Fernando. And he would smash my brother. And I was like, bro, how can I beat him up the way you beat him up? Show me how. And he's like, dude, just pull up. And I went to train at Hensel Gracie Wesson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, they were open then.
Yeah, that's where I started training under Juan Rodriguez, who now owns Hensel Gracie for Lauderdale.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you were first at Henzo.
Yeah, and I grew up there.
Okay.
And I trained there till I was about 16, and then my parents got divorced.
Okay.
And I moved with my mom to Brickell. My mom got a job there, and so she took us all. We actually lived, me and my 4 siblings, in a 2-bedroom apartment. So, like, my mom lived in one room with my sister, and then I lived in the other one with my 3 brothers. And we lived there for about a year, but then my mom had a tough time making it, so she had to go back to Paraguay, where we're originally from. Which, actually, shout out to my mom, bro. She went back there, opened up her business, she's killing it, has the biggest brokerage in Paraguay.
Amazing.
So then I when I moved to Miami, I went to a bunch of different gyms. I went to Hilly and Gracie. I went to
How old were you then?
16.
Okay, so that's when I met you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then when I pulled up to Fight Sports, I just remember the level was just different. Because, you know, they were doing ADCC camps, so I literally would, like, pull up to pro training, and I saw, like, Buchecha, Rodolfo Vieira, Cyborg, and just a bunch of monsters going at it. So I was like, okay, this is the place to be.
Yeah. Was that Fight Sports was, well, I remember going to one in Wynwood.
Yeah, it was right around Wynwood. It was like in a garage.
Yeah, it was like, I remember that one. That was good old days.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, and then you've been with Fight Sports ever since then?
Yeah.
So in a total of years, how much would you say you've been doing jiu-jitsu? Like
actually training full-time, I probably trained jiu-jitsu like 12, 13 years. And then these last 2 years, I mean, I just train here and there.
So going back to that post that he put today, it's like ever since I've met Ben, he's been like the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Like he's always like super helpful, super nice. I remember not last year, it was like 2 years ago, you cornered me and I did so horribly. Do you remember that?
I don't even remember.
He was like, hey, do you have a corner? And I was out, where were we? South Carolina?
Man, probably, it was Charleston. 2.5 years ago. I remember.
Yeah, I remember. I just got in my purple belt. It was my first purple belt match. And I went up there like, I'm just going to go have fun. Like, going to try this purple belt. I never even trained for it. Like, never just like wanted just to compete. And Ben was like, hey, do you have a corner? And I was like, no, bro, everything that he said, I did not do.
That's so funny. That's funny, man. That tournament actually was nice for me because I fought a guy that had beat me at Pan Am's.
Yeah.
And I fought him twice because it was a 3-man bracket. And it was me, Felipe, and this kid.
Yeah.
And so they put me against the kid first, and I beat him. And then I don't remember how it went, but I ended up fighting him twice, and I beat him twice, and I was really happy.
Yeah. Oh, good day for you, bad day for me. But that's the type of guy Ben is. Like, I mean, I hadn't seen him in a long time before then, and he was just like willing to like corner me and you know, we're not from the same gym, and he was just like, hey, I'll help you out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you
That's
gotta.
fun.
That's life. You gotta.
There'll be I bring it up because there's a lot of people that would never do that. They'll be like, I mean, even if they know me, they'll be like,
I'm a strong believer that you reap the seeds, you reap the fruit of the seeds that you plant, you know?
exactly.
So, like, if you're nice to everyone, you're a good guy or girl, like, you're gonna have a good life.
Exactly.
If you're an asshole, you're gonna have a bad life, you know? That's how it is.
You're going to be miserable.
That's it.
That's it. The first question we got was, what drives you to get out of bed every day, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
What drives me to get out of bed every day? I guess it's my ambition to, like, live, my ambition to, like, win, honestly. I have this saying that I always joke, and it's like, stay winning. No matter what happens, I'm gonna stay winning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, like, I have a lot of good friends. Like, I work from home, and I have friends that pull up after work or, like, during my lunch break. They're like, yo, let's hit the gym. We'll go downstairs and we'll hit the gym. I mean, honestly, I have a pretty good life. So, I mean, first things first is I gotta get out of bed, because if I don't get out of bed, my dog is gonna either shit or piss inside the house. So that's probably like the first thing I do. I get up, I get dressed, and I walk her. But the truth is, man, like, I don't know, life's pretty good. So
Yeah.
it's easy to get out of bed.
Absolutely.
You know?
And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I see myself as a successful real estate investor. I see myself as, honestly, right now I'm trying to get on Team USA wheelchair rugby. I have a long way to go because...
Dude, that would be so cool.
Yeah. I have a long way to go because the team that I'm training out of right now is the South Florida Rattlers. They're based out of Lake Worth.
Okay.
And we have practice most Sundays. So I usually drive like an hour there, but it's a small team.
I was going to say that's far.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the price you pay, you know?
Yeah.
It's a sport that I'm able to play.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing that really stimulates me mentally, physically, and like emotionally, similar to how jiu-jitsu did.
Exactly.
You know, because like when you go through the accident, it's like you're stuck in bed all day, you know, and if you just stay there, you're gonna get depressed and you're gonna be sad. So,
and
like,
to be honest, that's everybody. You don't need to, like, there's you know, I'll be honest, like, I think we all fall under depression. I know I go through it. And like, if I stay in bed all day, it's just, you go like into a deeper hole.
Well, that's the thing, like, about depression.
Sure.
Depression most of the time is just like you're bored. And your brain like doesn't know what to do, and so like you start thinking sad thoughts, and like you go on a downward spiral. But like if you just stay active, stimulate yourself, like literally my dog, I make sure she gets plenty of interaction socially. I make sure she's tired, and I make sure she's well fed.
Yeah.
If you, as a human, meet those requirements, honestly, you're going to be pretty set. If you get good social interaction, you get physical exercise, and you're well fed. I mean, what more do you need?
I also feel that a lot to do with what could make you feel better is sun. Because like staying in bed is like being in the dark. But as soon as you go outside and you get some vitamin D, it really does boost you up and keeps you going. So
it really does. Literally, I think it was like 2-3 months ago, I was getting migraines every day for like a week, and I was suffering, dude. And then one day my friend was like, bro, let's just go to the beach. And I was like, I don't know, bro. I feel like shit. I don't want to go. It's like, dude, come on, let's go to the beach. I'll pick you up. I'll put you in the sand. I'll put you in the water. Let's go. Dude, we went to the beach, cured. Problem solved. Felt like amazing. It's insane.
It's the sun.
Yeah,
you told me that you're doing a new tour, right?
I'm doing a seminar tour, yeah.
Okay.
We're in the process of setting it up.
Cool.
We're
Which
going
is super cool.
We're going to Costa Rica. We're going to visit 3 gyms next month on the 21st.
Okay.
And we're going for 5 days. So we're going to visit 3 gyms, give 3 seminars, and just kind of spread some jiu-jitsu.
That's so cool.
Yeah, ideally, I'm supposed to be going with Rodrigo and Felipe. Still trying to figure out if they can come or not, but it would be sick if they could come with me.
It would be super cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to Costa Rica?
Never.
Me either.
Never. I really want to go.
I heard it's beautiful though.
I was Googling the pictures, and it looks amazing.
Majestic. Yeah, they do a lot of cool seminars over there. Not jiu-jitsu, but like yoga people do stuff. There's some massage seminars that I've seen that people do. There's a lot of surfing over there.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I got in contact with them because Cyber went to go teach a seminar over there.
Okay.
And one of the guys that was at a seminar came to Miami, and coincidentally, I was training the same day that he was there at the gym. And we became friends, and then he hit me up like, yo, pull up, let's get you guys
super cool.
for the seminar.
So if you guys want to go, just hit up Ben.
Hit me up. That would be insane.
Yeah. Okay, so then the next question I have is common mistakes that people do in arm bars. because you had the best arm bars.
Oh, wow. I wish I knew who asked that question. I'm so flattered.
Should I say his name?
It's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
He's like, he had, and then he actually wrote to me on the side, and he said he had one of the nastiest arm bar setups. So that was Sebastian Schmitz.
Nice.
Suavecito on Instagram.
Ah, Suavecito. Shout out Suavecito. Yeah, I mean, the common mistakes is simple. You know, you always want to keep the hip as close to the shoulder as possible, because if you bring it close to the elbow, obviously there's space for you to get out, right?
Yeah.
So you want your hips as tight as possible. You want to squeeze your knees together, and if you're going to cross your leg, the leg that's got to be on bottom is the one that's over the head. Because a lot of people make the mistake is they cross the leg over the head on top, but then there's plenty of space for me to sit up and stack it and defend.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have the leg over my head on bottom, then it's harder for me to come up. Obviously, squeeze the knees, so it's hard to rotate out, and then control the wrist. Those are like basic armbar fundamentals.
The next question we had was knee slice and cut advice.
Wow.
He had one of the nastiest I have ever had to deal with.
That's super cool. Okay, so when we open the guard, you pop the knee up, right? And right away, I like to keep the hand either on the hip of my opponent or on the elbow, but you want to keep your elbow on the inside of their knee. Mm-hmm. Because if you keep your elbow on the inside of their knee, it's hard for them to bring the knee shield in. And that saves a lot of time, because once they bring the knee shield in, it's super annoying.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can throw a lasso in there, but forget that. Keep the elbow in so that way they can bring the knee shield in, and stay small. And then as you go, you want to drop your head kind of like by the ear of your opponent, so that way they can't turn into you, and you want to slide your knee out towards their knee. You don't want to slide it forward, because if you slide it forward, you're going to crash into the floor. Yeah. And if you crash into the floor, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep moving forward. So you slide the knee out, and then you use your hips to push the person's legs out of the way.
And then the last question we had was, what do you think of lower belts doing illegal moves such as heel hooks and?
I think it's really important. I think it's super important for lower belts to do heel hooks. Because, I mean, right now people go off of, like, the IBJJF. You can't do heel hooks until you're a brown belt. But then what's going to happen is, well, not now anymore, because ADCC's taken over.
Yeah.
But when I was training, that was kind of the idea, right? And the issue with that is that you'll get to purple belt, or you'll get to brown belt, and you'll start learning heel hooks. But there's a kid who's been doing it since he's a white belt. He comes in, he's already like a black belt at what you're learning as a white, like you're going to be a brown belt, but you're going to be a white belt at leg locks. Does that make sense?
Of course. Well, my first professor was Enrico Coco.
Yeah.
You know, and my first class was a fucking heel hook. Yeah. And like, it wasn't like knee cuts. It wasn't like mounts. It wasn't like arm bars. It was like, at the time, which was 8 years ago when I started doing jiu-jitsu, he was like really hot, and he was like one of the first like to like really bring out like kind of heel hooks. It was kind of like
he had funky jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he had like funky like leg locks and all this stuff. So like our classes were like catered to that. And then like I would have friends at like Carlson Gracie in Miami, and I was a white belt, and they were like, no, you can't go for heel hooks.
It's funny. No, I mean, like, I think it's important to teach responsibility, right? Like whenever you're training with somebody, you're literally putting your life in their hands, and like if they start getting reckless, like you will break an arm, you know, you will break a leg.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you educate the person doing the move,
correct, then
it's fine. Yeah. Now, if you have an idiot doing the move who like wants to hurt you, then I mean, an armbar is just as dangerous.
We're going to talk about where do we think the sport is going.
I mean, I think where the sport's going, where it's already come, is such a far way. Like when I started training, people didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. People thought I did karate or some shit, you know? And I mean, just fast forward a couple years later, I mean, everybody knows what jiu-jitsu is, you know? I mean, obviously UFC's had a huge impact on that, and ADCC as well. But I mean, I think the sport's going in a good direction. I think UFC Fight Pass started hosting their events. I mean, even me, like you, like there's so many events going on. There's so many like professional events that are paying money. Like the sport's going, it's growing a lot.
It's growing for sure. There's definitely.
It might just be probably one of the fastest growing sports in the world.
I think so. I think it's gonna only get bigger from here. That's my opinion. when I started doing White Lion promotions, one of my main things was that there was no good promotions in Miami.
Yeah.
We would have like New Breed, Naga, and then Naga like little by little stopped coming as much as it used to be back in the days.
Even like the IBJJFs here in Miami have
they like
really,
died down.
Diluted.
It's like, it's weird because there's like some people that don't want to compete, and like I don't know what it is. There's like gaps to like registrations too.
I think that's like a huge problem. The ego in jiu-jitsu of like people who are scared to lose,
Dude.
And so they don't compete. Like, bro, just go, man. Like I'm not gonna throw anybody's name out there. If you're listening to this, you know who you are. But I have a friend who doesn't like to compete because he doesn't like to fight his friends. I'm like, bro, I used to have to fight Felipe all the time. He was my main training partner. You know what I mean?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Felipe.
Yeah, for real.
Porto.
He's a beast.
I get that a lot. I get like people who tell me, oh my God, your promotion is so pretty, but like your stage is like, I'm not ready for that yet. And I'm like, you just competed a New Breed. Like you just competed. I'm like, it's the same thing.
I mean, the first time is a little nerve-wracking. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you don't do it, you're never gonna get better.
Yeah.
You know? It's I get it, because like I'll give you an example. When I started competing, when I first moved to Miami, Cyberg like talked to my mom and he was like, yo, your son's really good. We gotta make him compete. We gotta take him to Pan Ams.
Okay.
And I remember my first match in Pan Ams. I mean, I was like, fuck it, let's go. But I was freaking out. And I high-fived the guy, fist pump.
16,
17, one of the two.
Yeah.
I high-fived, fist pumped, and I froze. Like, and the kid literally pulled guard, bending bolo, took my back and choked me. And I went in the corner and I cried for like 2 hours. But I mean, I had to go through that process for me to understand that if you freeze, you're gonna get choked. Yeah. So you gotta go out there and you gotta just try to kill the guy, and that's that.
Yeah. We win, we lose, we freeze, we get nervous, we compete sick. Like you just keep going. But if you sit there and you hesitate and you start doubting yourself, like that's just for me, I see that as just something that like you're going through on a personal level that you need to conquer. And like I feel like jiu-jitsu will make you better. Just
at a professional level, like if you are Wagner, Cyborg, I'm not just saying those because those are like the local guys, but even like Tristan or Michael or Roosevelt or Felipe, anybody, like if you're sick but you're competing at a professional level, I would understand you pulling out because you're getting paid, you have to perform, it's your image. Or injured or sick, I understand. But if you're like a kid trying to make it and you're fighting New Breeds and Nagas, bro, like I remember one time I fought Orlando Open, IBJJF, and I had food poisoning. And I was vomiting into the trash can. And they were like, Benjamin Kunzle, please report to ring coordinator number 7 or whatever.
Oh my God.
And dude, I was like, let's go. Yeah. And I went and I got my ass kicked, obviously. But I mean, I went out there and I had a good experience.
I fought with a fever. Like actually last Worlds I had a fever. I was so sick. And like I still went in there and did it. Like and there's no excuses. And like regardless, you know, like I think it's the personality, dude. I honestly do. There's people who are like, fuck it, you know, and there's people who just they're not made for it. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu as well. Like there's different levels to the sport. You could be a competitor, you could be a hobbyist. You could be just like a mom, you know, you could start at 16. I started at 33,
there you go.
31, I don't know, something like that. I think 32, I don't know, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and I was already a mom, and like, it has, I think, a section for everybody. It's very diverse.
It is.
So like, if you don't want to compete too, like, you don't have to.
Yeah, and it's cool because like in jiu-jitsu, like, it's one of the few places where you'll see like a 14-year-old kid and like a 45-year-old businessman like interacting and like having something in common, and it's cool because it builds that relationship where the 14-year-old kid now has this 45-year-old guy as a mentor that can teach him about business, and it's more than just jiu-jitsu, it's a community, you know.
It is, definitely. So the next question that we had was, do you think gi is dying? Because you love gi, right?
I love gi.
I mean, since I've known you, you're like
I'm a gi guy.
You've always done both, and you've always excelled, but you were the gi guy.
Yeah, no, I always, like, when I used to compete, I really felt like in the gi, I knew I was one of the best in the world. Like, in the gi, I knew that you could put me, for my belt, you know? You could put me, like, against any guy, and I would put on a show. In no gi, I always competed internationally, and I did good. You know, I did well, I always placed, but I didn't have that confidence. You know what I mean? And I think that the gi is dwindling. I see it. I mean, a lot of guys are just focused on no gi. A lot of guys are just focused on ADCC. Wrestlers come into the sport, and you put a wrestler in a gi, and you can tie him up, and you can beat him up.
That's another sport that I believe is growing too.
Yeah.
Back in the days, there was never any girls in wrestling. Now there's squads of girls wrestling.
It's so cool to see, right?
Yeah, it is. I have a couple who are my clients in the therapy. They're like high school girls from South Dade.
Super cool.
I'm like, they're beasts. So it's the best school in Miami for wrestling.
Nice.
And the girls are just so about it. Like, they're so cool. Great kids.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, so those kids end up trickling into jiu-jitsu because it goes hand in hand, or vice versa. I've seen kids, like my son, he's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 5. Now he's starting to do wrestling.
Yeah, and then eventually, if they don't make it in college, they'll come back. Or even if they make it in college when they graduate, most of the time, they come back to jiu-jitsu anyways.
Yeah, and also to wrestling, because like the other day I took him to practice, and there was a whole grown adult in there, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He was like, oh, he's in college, he used to train here, but he's training back with his high school team. So I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know, like he came to like chill like the high school kids just to get a practice in. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. No, but I definitely think the gi's diminishing, and primarily in like importance and spectators, just because it's in the gi, to have a good match, you have to have 2 athletes that are there to bang. You know, like there's a famous saying like, oh, play the game. Competitors say like, oh, play the game, and it's like, oh, like you score a quick advantage and then you like stall the rest of the match. And dude, as a competitor, I swear to God, I get it. You know, like you want to win, you want to go out there. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a spectator sport, you know. And if it's a boring sport, what you're doing, then nobody's gonna watch. And if nobody's watching, you're not gonna get paid.
Yeah.
And if you're not gonna get paid, then I mean, you're doing it for fun, which is cool. But then you're not a professional.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what makes no gi have the upper hand, I think, because it's so much more dynamic.
Yeah. And you do feel that there's more money in no gi than gi.
Yeah. Like even when we did Blue Collar FC, like. Lee hit me up and he was like, bro, I have $25K. I want to give away to the tournament. Set it up. And I was like, okay, you want gi or no gi? He's like, nah, bro, it has to be no gi and it has to be absolute. For money like this, like right away, you know, like off the rip. And so that makes sense because no gi's so much more dynamic, so much more fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's more fun to watch. Sometimes gi could get a little boring. Sometimes
you'll see that like a lot of kids nowadays, they're like doing homeschooling instead of going to school so that they can train full time. And I mean, in terms of like athletic development, I think that's super cool because like I actually, when I was a kid, I really wanted that.
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm glad my parents didn't let me do that.
Okay.
Because it just allowed me to develop socially.
Yes.
So much more.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids.
You know, like for example, and I'll give you this example. If you're homeschooled and you train full time, when you're like 12 to 15 years old and you're like discovering women for the first time, where are you gonna meet girls? In the gym.
Oh,
and that sucks.
Don't know. That's like a whole different can of worms.
But I'm just saying. But I'm just saying real talk. I'm just saying real talk.
I'm like so. I think in my last podcast, I went like on a little rampage. Like I'm so against dating in the gym.
But if you put yourself in the position of the kid.
Yeah, no, for sure. You don't know
there's nothing.
Else.
There's no other option, right? Where like for example, if you have a life outside, then and I mean, that's gonna happen. You're gonna. It's normal and it's okay as long as it's like. It's okay if it's within the
like if you
realm.
fall in love with your teammate.
Dude, it's cool. It's no big deal. You know what I mean? With that being said, it's better to avoid mixing those things. You know what I mean? If you can't avoid it, do it. Yeah. So that's why I think like going to school is so cool because it allows you to develop in all these different ways where like, you know, like you can meet a girl in school and you can date and then you can leave and jiu-jitsu can be your escape from all that drama that you have going on in school or whatever the situation may be.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I stand on that.
Yeah. I do frown upon people dating in the gym as a business perspective because I think it brings problems to the business.
100%.
Right? But with that being said, because I do want to clarify this, like my opinion towards an owner and an instructor dating a student, it's like a hell no for me. But if you have two blue belts that are training partners and they're kids and they're the same age and they fell in love in the gym and like it happened, then like you can't really help that.
You can't help it. You can't help it. But let me tell you
like,
this.
that's going to happen.
But let me tell you this, though. It's going to happen, and then it's going to suck because eventually when the blue belts break up, like
yes, and then
somebody's
it's like
going to want to go to
the gym.
or somebody's going to want to go to a different school.
Exactly.
And then you lose a student, and maybe a student was like your competitor. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
like those are the little hiccups, but you really, as like an owner, you really can't I don't think you could control two blue belts who are like 18-year-olds end up dating. It's like, oh, like whatever, like you
gotta try to just.
What can you do? There's nothing to do.
But you gotta just try to manage.
Now, if you're a school owner, is where I think it's like a no for me.
Yeah.
As an owner, you don't. For me, I've always said it. You don't shit where you eat. So like that's my opinion as a woman in jiu-jitsu of what I think about that, which is two completely different.
No,
things,
yeah, and
for
I mean,
sure.
honestly, I agree.
Yeah, that's drama.
yeah, it's definitely a situation.
Yeah, it's a different subject for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, any last words?
I guess thank you for having me on. I think we covered a lot of really cool topics.
Yeah,
a lot of things that maybe are a little controversial and people wouldn't usually talk about, but
I know. But that's me.
There you go.
It's good to talk about these things and hear everybody's different perspectives, and people should talk about it, and it shouldn't be like put under the rug.
Yeah.
But yes, there's more to life than jiu-jitsu, for sure.
But train hard.
That's
it. And enjoy the process, guys.
Absolutely.
And have fun doing it.
For sure.
And don't focus so much on, like, for all my friends out there that, like, maybe are struggling, like, they're scared to compete or whatever, like, dude, don't focus so much on the result, Focus more on, like, just going out there and doing your best, and I promise you'll do much better.
It's awesome.
Stay winning, baby.
Yay. And we're out.